welcome to Ophthalmology Business Podcast. We help you develop your ideal practice with the help of other doctors and experts. The topics will include marketing, management, leadership, recruitment, HR, mindsets, and more. I'm Dr. Omar Shakir, one of the hosts of the podcast. Every listener to this podcast is welcome to join the Ophthalmology Business Academy at www.obacademy.org. The membership's on us, and it's our gift to you. Today, I'm excited to talk to Dr. Robert Melendez. Dr. Melendez is a cataract and refractive surgeon. He's also the founder and editor-in-chief of the Ophthalmology Business Minute. He's a founder of the Juliet Eye Institute, founder of Juliet RP Foundation, former chair of the AAO's YO committee, and I'm sure a whole lot more that we're going to learn a little bit about. So our topic today is going to be, what is a CEO? Is it chief executive, chief experience? Is it both? Let's go ahead and jump in. So without further ado, Dr. Robert Melendez, welcome to the podcast.
Omar, great to be here with you, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself that I haven't already mentioned. There's so much that you do. Tell me more.
We just harvested some grapes from our small vineyard in New Mexico. It's a Red Zinfandel. It's fermenting now as we speak. We named it after my great-grandma Aurelia. I'm really big into legacy and leaving your footprint behind, your fingerprints behind wherever you are, making the world and the place where you are better than the way you found it.
Incredible. Yeah, notice, and your mother's name, is it grandmother or mother? That's the name of your eye institute?
So we opened a new facility. It's called the Juliet Eye Institute. It's named after my mom. My mom went blind when I was a young boy, and that's really what piqued my interest in the eye. I started volunteering with optometrists and then later ophthalmologists, and realized this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about helping people see better. And so as a result, I started the Juliet Eye Institute. But originally, I was part of a larger practice before I opened up my own practice 3 years ago. I was in private practice, a group of 50 doctors, learned a lot of, great skills. They paid for me to go to get an MBA. So I learned a lot about, running a business, managing people, being an effective leader. So I'm grateful to my mentors that helped me in that arena. But during my MBA, one of our assignments was to, create some sort of local project, make the community better. And when I raised my hand for an idea, I said, I've always wanted to start a foundation to help find a cure for my mom, who has retinitis pigmentosa, and which is hereditary retina disease, causes night blindness initially in the teenage years. And then those patients slowly lose their peripheral vision by age 29. Most are legally blind and, can't drive anymore. I can recall when my mom was younger and she lost her license, that, what a huge impact that had on her and on us, going to sports and not having your mom being able to drive you there.
It's tough. I know that world, doing a lot of inherited retinal disease in my clinic. You have an incredible background and expertise in leadership. Tell me a little bit about, what is your philosophy on leadership? One of our topics here is that leadership. Does it look like a chief executive role? Is it a chief experience officer? Are they both? Where do you feel the biggest impact is in being a leader, specifically to your practice? I know it's a good question.
Sure. No, it's a very important question. I don't claim to have all the leadership answers, but I had a lot of great mentors, amazing leaders all throughout the academy. I know, 20 academy presidents, and a lot of them have mentored me personally. I'm grateful for that. So I've seen really good leaders, and I think a good summary of a good leader is somebody who thinks of others better than themselves, put others first, really thinks more of the team. And as a CEO now myself, as a chief executive officer, it's on me to make the hard decisions, but it's not done in isolation. A good CEO collects the data, listens to his or her team, and then ultimately makes that decision with data, really. And so obviously you gotta have a vision. I'm a visionary kind of guy. I like to do big things. I like to make the place better than the way I found it. So if that's you and you're listening to this podcast, sky is the limit. Don't limit yourself. Don't say that you can't. So you can't surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, better than you will be better. You will rise to that new level if you surround yourself with people. And I also like what you said, Omar. You asked the question about, what is a CEO, or is it really chief experience officer? I like that. I haven't heard that before. And actually, at the Juliet Eye Institute, we're laser eye surgery center. We do 3 cornea-based surgeries, 3 lens-based surgeries, SMILE, LASIK, PRK, EVO, ICL, refractive lens exchange, and primarily premium cataract surgery. And our mission statement is to put patients first. That's probably the most important thing to me as a CEO, is that our patients get well cared for. When I decided to start my own business during COVID in 2020, I was contemplating, what should I name my new business? Not once did I ever think about naming it after myself. And no offense to the doctors that choose to do that.
Yeah.
I actually chose to name it after my mom because I wanted everyone on the team to understand what the mission is. The mission's very clear. Put your patients first, and that's the most important thing to me. If my staff does that, my team members actually implements that, then they're exceeding my expectations. And so to say for me to be the chief experience officer, I love that. So that's our primary mission. We even hired a patient experience director, and we also have a patient experience coordinator. And their sole roles is really to focus on the experience, make sure that the patients are being receive proper educational information before, during, after surgery. Make sure that their stay here in the clinic is inviting, relaxing. We have private recliner rooms that we call pod rooms. And so there's a recliner, it's heated, massage, there's snacks, there's a refrigerator, there's their own personal TV. They can watch what they want on the TV. And so we're just trying to really enhance and elevate the experience more than what you would expect at your regular doctor's office visit. And then moving on and touching on, what our primary mission is. Our mission for the administrators, including me as the CEO, is a little different. It's still patients first, but as I tell all of our administrators, our mission statement is different. And how it's different, it's this. It's really putting staff first and trying to enhance their experience while they're at work. Because without the help of our staff, we can't do what we want to do and exceed the patient's expectations. So make sure that your staff is rested, fed, coffee, bring them snacks, make sure they have enough time off, surprise them with a day off, a month or a quarter, whatever you can afford to do. Try to go out and do activities together when you can. Try to remember birthdays, try to remember details about their families. And fortunately, I have a really good team that reminds me of those things. Do some handwritten cards. There's something special about seeing a handwritten card. My patient experience director even purchased a seal, a wax seal with our logo. So when you close the envelope, you seal it, it has our logo on it. It's just, and it's gold because our colors are gold and black and gold and white. And so when patients see that, it's just that extra touch, the extra touch of a card, the touch that you took the time to handwrite that card, and you took the time to even think about putting a wax seal on the back of the envelope. We're really big at elevating the experience for the patient. But I think as the CEO, you also need to elevate the experience for your staff. And we continually try to push those boundaries for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ways in which you've served as one of the biggest influences in my career and as a mentor is, we navigate this world through experiences. Whatever our role is, whatever it is that we do or dedicate ourselves to in our life, it's through experiences. And you have taught me a lot about paying attention to the details and the experience. And I commend you for what you've done for the field. An important question is, what was the last song you listened to in your OR playlist?
Okay, so my OR playlist is Maroon 5, Coldplay, One Republic. So in any of that music, I'm good.
Keeping it
The
upbeat.
Yeah, but it's not too upbeat like Brass Monkey by Beastie Boys, which we did play back in the day. which is too much, and the patient sat up from the bed. So we just had this conversation in the OR. Some docs want it completely quiet, some want smooth jazz, some want a little easy listening, and hard rock. I closing song that it's my go-to closing song, and that's after a long day in the OR. It's a feel-good song, AC/DC, Back in Black. That motivates the entire team at that point.
It's part of the experience. It's all about the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, talk to me about your leadership style. I mean, we all know you as a very strong presence personally, professionally, but we don't work for you. So, what's it like to work with Dr. Melendez? What's your leadership style? Are you top down, bottom up, heavily engaged, detached? How would you describe yourself?
I'd go back to just asking the question and your listeners, what's your personality profile? You know, and there's many personality profile tests out there, whether it's Myers-Briggs or the DISC assessment, to name a couple. And I'll highlight the DISC assessment. If you haven't done that personality profile test, I challenge the CEO and your team to do it. It's really important for you to, one, understand who you are, and then you understand who your team is. And then once your team understands this is who I am, then they understand my approach, why I'm acting that way. So on the DISC profile, I'm an I. I'm very outgoing. I want to have a lot of fun. I have a short attention span. That's why I love to do cataract refractive surgery, because it's quick, it's easy. Outcomes are amazing.
I wouldn't call it easy.
Yeah, it's relatively easy. It's relatively easy. So I wanted to be in a very fun environment, and if I'm not having fun, I'll mix things up to have fun. And the staff knows that. So bringing in snacks, making sure the environment's fun, playing some music here and there. But I'm also at the same time extremely serious. On a surgery day, I dial that down dramatically. And as a leader, you need to know who you are and your surroundings. And sometimes you dial it up, sometimes you actually dial it down. And I think I learned that later in my career. Oftentimes, as a surgeon or a doctor, if you're more outgoing, you can sometimes be misperceived, if you will, of not being as serious. I'm very serious. I majored in biochemistry, love biochemistry. I'm actually a biochemistry nerd. If you didn't know that, I like to draw structures. I can probably draw you a structure right now if you want to see one. But for what purpose? But that's sort of me under this shell. I'm very serious. I'm a deep thinker. I'm a visionary. So the staff knows that about me as well. They know that I like to do many things at the same time. Everyone on the team has the same middle name, and I challenge your listeners, if you're a CEO out there, to do the same thing in your own office and give each of your team members the same middle name. And I'm going to give you what it is now. And that middle name is MIH. Do you know what that stands for, Omar?
No.
Make it happen.
I like that.
Yeah. So you inspire your team to problem solve. If they can't figure out what the answer is, they need to exhaust their list before they approach you. I'm very approachable, but as a CEO, the CEO should not be bothered with various things like, I'm trying to determine which printer I should buy. That's not a CEO's job to be making those decisions. So there's a time and place to approach the CEO. You got to come prepared. You got to have the data in place. Everything should be corrected. You should run it by 3 other people. Like, what do you think about this? Does this look good? And then, so by the time the CEO sees it, it's already been vetted, corrected, things to that effect. So my style is I'm usually very fun most of the time. And on surgery days, I would say I'm less fun, but I'm still fun.
I think you're pretty much always fun, which, by the way, is a plug for the Outliers 2024 meeting. I've been to the 2022 and 2023. That's where I learned about the exact personality profile you're talking about, where I learned about my leadership style. So I think it's an incredible opportunity for those that haven't been to an Outliers meeting run by Dr. Melendez. It's something to see. Now, I see that you just finished clinic. You always have crazy socks in clinic. Can I see what you got? What are you wearing today?
You want to take the socks off, or
I want to see what do you got?
I'm gonna
Anything special today?
Can you see it there? Can you see
Okay,
him?
Argyle.
Yeah, yeah.
We like that.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't pull a muscle there. A good stretch for you.
Now, you talked a little bit about not being bothered by things that shouldn't demand your attention as CEO. What are some of the other big challenges in transitioning your role from where you were before into being now a CEO? What's the biggest challenge, and what are some of the other ones that occupy your mind?
I think starting your own business is challenging. It's difficult. We started our own business during COVID, which that in of itself was extremely challenging. But one of my friends, a retina specialist in Florida, said this best. He said, Rob, getting into college was hard. Getting into medical school was even harder. Getting into an ophthalmology residency, probably one of the more challenging residencies, as you know, Mark. And then getting into fellowship was even harder. And if you can do all those things, you can start and run a business easy, right? Because to be a really good leader, you got to be honest with yourself, know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are, and try to work on those weaknesses. And you got to know your likes and dislikes, right? So whatever you're best at, that's where you're going to be honing in on primarily. Whatever you're not good at, then you need to bring in consults like we do in medicine. If we see a patient with a swollen optic nerve and you're a retina specialist, it's probably outside your wheelhouse. You're likely going to consult a neuro-ophthalmologist. In the same vein, in business, if there's something that you need help with, like for instance, starting our own office-based surgery suite, that was not my strong wheelhouse. I think I'm a good surgeon. I was trained by great surgeons. I did high volume cataract surgery at my last practice, doing 2,000 cataracts per year. Extremely busy, 60 patients in the clinic every day. It's extremely busy while being very involved locally and nationally with leadership positions, and then helping run one of our clinics. So there's a lot of things that you're good at, and once you realize, I'm not so good at those, then you gotta hire. So when I started my own practice, I didn't realize I was going to do office-based surgery. I don't even remember how I stumbled across it, but I'm so grateful that I did. But I met somebody from a company called IOR Partners, and his name was Rick Prell, and chatted with him. And I learned a little bit more about it. And then this is what they do. They specialize in helping people start an office-based surgery suite, help you with all your equipment and inventory management, if you will, digitally for all your electronic medical records, submitting it for billing, collecting, actually getting paid to do it, and then maintaining accreditation. And those were not my strengths. And I'm smart enough to know where my strengths and weaknesses were. And that was one of my weaknesses. I said, you know what, I'm going to hire somebody who's an expert at that. So we basically hired them. They helped us get started. We're approaching 3 years in our office-based surgery suite. And when we started, we were the fastest growing surgery center in their company. Now I think I'm second place to you. But anyways, I'm not mad. But kudos to you, Omar. But that's just one example. And now having a team of people that I can rely on, now they're teaching our team how to do it. Now it's easier and it's empowering. Like, we can do this. Starting a business, getting a Medicare number, getting a local city permit, getting an LLC, and then finding an accountant. We have 2 separate accountants to really run our business well. So there's a lot of moving pieces. You're on the phone a lot with numerous people, looking at a lot of data. I have an MBA. I spent a lot of time looking at a lot of financial statements, fortunately, but it's another language. People ask, do I need an MBA to start my own practice? And I would say the answer is no. You don't think you need an MBA to start your own business. It just means that you'll likely have to hire more constantly. But if you do have an MBA, at least you can understand a lot of the business language that people will present to you. You're still hiring people to sort of run certain parts of your business, but you're overseeing them. You understand the actual language to help make business decisions.
When did you go back and get your MBA?
I graduated from residency in 2004. I wanted to be a retina specialist originally because of my mom's condition. But once I realized, I started to do cataract surgery my last year in residency. I'm like, this is fun. I mean, it's a different personality. So you need to know what your personality is. And honestly, I have a good personality, and that's why I'm not a retina specialist. I'm kidding, Omar. But no, I love doing cataract surgery. It was a different vibe in that clinic. They're happier. People were just super satisfied. And that at that time, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of really good treatments for macular degeneration. So the retina clinic was very, very sad and quiet place, which was opposite of the way I like to be and run things. And so it just wasn't a good fit for me. And I realized, I don't think I want to do retina anymore. I talked to my mom about it, and she pretty much freed me at that point. She's like, don't feel obligated to do what I want, what you think I want you to do. You should do what you're passionate about, what you feel naturally moved to do. And I'm like, you know what? I naturally want to do cataract surgery, refractive surgery. That's my personality. And so be true to yourself. So it was at that point that I was freed from it. So I graduated in 2004. I was planning on doing a retina fellowship. I had submitted 4 Arvo abstracts. They all got accepted. I was that crazy, Omar, retina heavy. And then I realized,
Wow.
mid my third year, like, I'm not going to do retina. And then so I didn't do a fellowship. I got hired right out of residency, stayed in the same practice for 16 years. But 2 years into that practice, they asked if I would go back and get an MBA. So just 2 years in, it took me about 2.5 years to get an executive MBA. Very busy, crazy. I was exhausted. People would ask, like, "Yes, why do you look so tired?" And most of the practice didn't know I was getting an MBA.
I
At
see.
the time. About 50 doctors, 500 employees. So I learned an enormous amount, fortunately, from the MBA, and then just the application while at my last practice.
And you hit on that point when talking to your mother. You said where you decided to focus on your passion because you knew naturally where it was leading you to. So you wrote a book on that, right? And it's called "Focus on Your Passion."
Actually, it's called Focus on the Passion, not
Focus
the
on the
profession.
passion.
Yeah,
And
and
what's the
and
key
I
differentiator there?
yeah, so it's not focus on your passion. It's actually focus on the passion. And I got it wrong too, Omar, initially when I wrote it. When I initially wrote it and I came up with the title, I actually wrote focus on your passion. And so what the book focuses on is literally focus on the passion. So the question is, what is the passion? Right. So let's go back and answer the first question, and that's, what is your passion? Well, your passion might be racing cars, or I love to go hiking, and that's different. That's your passion. Um, that's not what I'm actually referring to. I'm referring to focus on the passion, not the position. As younger leaders, and I was guilty of this when I was a young leader, is oftentimes we tend to focus too much on the title, the position. I want to be president. I want to be the chair. I want to be, chairman or the president of some organization. So that there's nothing wrong with having those aspirations. And I think leaders need to have those aspirations, and leaders do have those aspirations. But when you focus too much on the title or the position, you lose sight of the people. And so really the gist of my new leadership book, you can buy it on Amazon, passion, not the position.com. You can find our book there. Is really to focus on people, not the position. So you can substitute the word people for passion. When a leader focuses more on the people, he or she just can almost solve any issue, because once the people are on board and they support your mission, everyone moves towards that mission to accomplish it at a much faster rate than when you're focused on yourself. Like, I want to be the guy, I want to be the gal. And people can actually see through that and realize the person's self-centered. They want it all about them, and that's fine for them. But if you're trying to make a big splash, make a big difference, in your community, in your state, in the country, whatever your goals are, you got to get the people on board. So you got to focus on them more than yourself.
I love that. Well, congratulations on writing that book and getting it published. It's an incredible feat. Now, people who don't know Dr. Melendez, you always catch him in a bow tie. What's the deal with that, man? What do you ever wear regular ties? What's going on there?
Okay, so the only time I wear a regular tie, Omar, is if I'm going to a funeral.
Okay.
Right, because I mean, you can't rock a bow tie in a funeral. Like, dude, what's up with this guy?
But
You know,
everywhere else, it's okay.
do you think he's coming to a wedding? So uh, the bow tie started, I don't know, maybe like 12, 13 years ago. My youngest son at the time, we were in DC. So every year we go to DC, American Academy of Ophthalmology has Advocacy Day. And I've gone for 20 years in a row. COVID, we didn't go that year, of course. But I was fortunate enough to bring all my kids and my wife, and everyone got to meet almost every one of our legislators over the last 20 years. We met our current governor there, and she was a representative at the time. My son got a summer internship with her because he was there with me. But the first time he came, he was probably around, I want to say he was about 12 or 13. And he said, Dad, I want to wear a bow tie. And at that time, that's when it started to become popular. And so I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, I don't know how to tie one, but I'll learn how to do it. So I went on YouTube at the time, probably not a lot of videos back then, and I couldn't figure out how to tie it. And I just tied it, and we went into the congressman's office, and the congressman sit back in his chair, and he's looking at Jordan, my youngest son, and he asked, "Hey, Jordan, I like that tie. Who tied that for you?" He's like, my dad did. And then I said, I interrupted him. I said, I don't even know how to tie a bow tie, honestly. And he said, well, do you mind if I fix it? My dad used to wear bow ties, also a congressman. He said, sometimes I'll wear one too. He said, if you don't mind me fixing it, I'll sharpen it up. He retied it and tied it just impeccably beautiful. I'm just like, man, that looks great. So then when I got back home, like, you know what? I think I'm gonna buy a bow tie and wear it to the academy. So I wore a bow tie, three-piece suit. I'm wearing a three-piece suit now. Um, and I went to the academy, and somebody's like, dang, you look sharp. Oh, thank you, thank you. I hear it like four times. I'm like, it's got to be the bow tie. I was hooked after that, and I've been wearing it exclusively ever since.
I love that. Isn't it crazy how certain moments just stick with you and they can sometimes be so influential? That sounds like an incredible moment. Uh, Speaking of moments like that shape you, can you name a influential figure? I'm sure there's tons, but who comes to mind when you think about the leader that you are today and the first name that pops up in your head, like, man, that guy or girl, he or she really influenced me in a significant way to who I am today.
Mhm. I would say Frank Modest. He's a glaucoma specialist at my last practice. Um, when I was young in college, he's the one that I shadowed. And he was like, I was the first person in my family to go to college. And so he was the first ophthalmologist that I had ever shadowed. And the first time I saw him, tall, dark, handsome, Hispanic guy, I'm like, wow, this guy kind of looks like me. I'm like, I kind of look like this guy. He pulled up in a cool car, dressed well, super smart, caring, patient. His patients loved him, staff loved him. I'm like, I want to be this guy. And when I saw him, I'm like, that's awesome. And younger people, obviously we have great mentors at home. My parents are awesome mentors as well. But he's probably the single best mentor that I've had, more personally, if you will. I don't think he really shaped me in my leadership style. That those are probably different mentors. And there's nothing wrong with having different mentors. You should have a mentor within your field of ophthalmology, at least two, and then have someone outside of ophthalmology to help you on the personal side. I had great mentors growing up when I was young in college and medical school. My wife and I were very involved in our church, and just having great people that care about people and putting other people first. I think I learned that from them. And to this day, they're still great people. But I'd say Frank Modest, a glaucoma specialist, was the one that probably had the biggest impact on me.
Shout out to him. Let's leave with advice for the younger ophthalmologists. So, there's a lot of surgeons who are coming out who are just worried about doing good surgery and being good doctors, and maybe not a whole lot else to focus on because they want to nail that part. What's your advice to them as they go forward in their career beyond and above just being a great surgeon or physician?
Yeah, I think being a great surgeon and a great physician is awesome, right? But to really be like an amazing physician, you have to really focus more on people. Um, take the limelight off of yourself, which might be difficult because you've always probably been top of your class, many awards. You might be a musician. You've done a lot of amazing things. That's why you got into medical school. You got into that competitive residency. But once you're done with your training, you really have to shift your mindset and focus more on people, putting them first, putting more attention on your team, because the stronger your team is around you, the better that you're going to be. Surround yourself with people that are smarter, better than you. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I've been teaching at the medical school for 20 years. I got promoted to full professor. I'm proud of that, as well last year. I've been doing that just as a volunteer basis. My wife asked if I got a raise for that. I told her,
Yes, you did.
It's got a plaque. But I don't, we do things for various reasons, right? You're doing it either for money or for accolades or doing it for the love of the game. And all of us at the end of the day are so blessed and fortunate to be doing what we do. The skills that we've been taught and that we really hone in on to try to be better, to be given those skills to help somebody see better. You really can't put a price tag on it. And so just remember that why you're doing what you're doing, and ask yourself, could I do this as a hobby? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you know what, you're living your fullest potential. If your answer to that is no, then I would challenge you to go back to the basics of when you were still in college and you wrote that letter, that letter of intent to medical school, and see if you can dig it up, and hopefully you can do that. And I challenged more recent students who can pull their personal statement up and go back and look to see what you put, why you chose to be a physician. And
I love that, staying true to yourself, right? A lot of us have either written physical letters to our future self or somewhere in our head, before we had written a letter to ourself of who we wanted to be. And it's important to do that check-in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dr. Melendez, you have been an incredible guest to have on here, and you've been incredible in my life and my career growth. So thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it so much. So I want to take a moment and thank our listeners as well. We appreciate each and every one of you as well. We can't do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, please share it with your friends and family on social media. Also, please don't forget to write a review on iTunes and Google Play. Your reviews will help other doctors and practice owners find us. Till we meet again, wishing you all an amazing week ahead.